What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to week 4 of the 2022 season. Filming this video Saturday morning, so keep that in mind for any news developments that may be coming up between now and whenever this video happens to make its way online. Uh, New this week, I'm asking you at the beginning of the video, just right now, go like or leave a comment. I'd really appreciate it. It makes me feel good about myself. All right, week 3 was a very low scoring week, especially after weeks 1 and 2 were a little unusually high scoring. We're addressing, is it panic time for certain teams? We have 2 that are 0 and 3. We have some that were projected to be very good that are simply not. Big stories. Bill upset Mark, which I did predict, and then Marty upset Grant, which I did not predict. Marty is now tied for second in the Smut Hut conference. Talking about it being a low scoring week, I just wanted to display this. The average score per team, week 1 was 128, week 2, 123, and then week 3 it was down at 111, and that is historically a lower scoring week. The average score per team per game from 2019 to 2021 was 122. So we're talking 11 points under that. Really strange down week. Waivers for this week, we're trying to figure out which of these receivers that are getting a lot of targets, a lot of looks, which of these flashes are legit, nothing particularly interesting. Wes grabs Greg Dortch for $8. Max went out and got Packers defense for $6. A few other teams have been on that. I think that's a good grab. They have a nice schedule over the next several weeks. He should be able to ride them. And I went out and grabbed Zay Jones. I have a guy in my office who's a Jaguars fan who told me that was a bad pickup, that he's not going to keep getting work as much. But what does he know? Marty went out and got his Cowboys defense, and Pa adds Robert Tonyan, still trying to figure out that tight end spot. Cheaper ads included Jared Goff, Graham Gano, Trevor Lawrence, and Jerick McKinnon. Now, we're going to do another trade spotting segment this week. I noticed that Mark is sitting Terry McLaurin in favor of Devonta Smith with the Eagles. It's time for him to go get another running back. Miles Sanders, really closer to flex than RB2, and Jeff Wilson is not a solution forever. My suggested partner here is Marty. Marty has Devin Singletary and Zeke, who he just put on the bench. Khalil Herbert getting his full-time chance. A lot of people think he can take the job over from David Montgomery. So I see Marty and Mark as 2 compatible partners. Send a running back, get a receiver. Marty leaving some points on the bench, being more stacked at running back and very shallow at wide receiver. All right, now into the predictions for week 4. In week 3, I went 4 and 2, bringing me to 15 and 3 on the season. Banis was your team of the week, had another great game. His scoring on the season has been very solid. And game of the week, Stan survived against Max, had a good score, and he's tied for first in the MAGA Gang conference, which we're going to start over there, where My Atlanta Pipe Burst, Stan, Mark, and Bill are all tied at 2 and 1, Max 1 and 2, and then Minney down at the bottom 0 and 3. But with no teams being 3 and 0, he's only 2 games back from first place. This week we're looking at Stan. It's going to be a really big game between me and Stan, but he had just a disaster Thursday. That unfortunate, terrible injury to Tua cost him a lot, as he had Tua starting, and he had Jalen Waddle, who both underperformed. Minney is still going after his first win. He could get it this week. And then Mark. Is Mark in trouble again? Could he get upset in back-to-back weeks? It looks like it on paper. Let's start with My Atlanta Pipe Burst. We're currently 2 and 1 against Stan. Also 2 and 1. Grabber by the Pelosi. Winner's going to stay on top of the MAGA Gang conference. This is a pretty important game, but Stan only gets 19.3 points from Tua plus Waddle plus his kicker, who really carried the day with, I think, 12 or 13. But you're never out of it when you have Derrick Henry on your team. The huge monster game is always a potential. On my side, we still have this conundrum of who we're starting in the flex. Keenan Allen already ruled out again. It feels a lot like when I had Julio Jones a few years ago, that it's questionable. He's practicing every week, but he just never plays. I think we're going to roll with the Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb combo, both Browns running backs. We'll see. Cooks, where's the Brandon Cooks panic level? The 2 guys, or the 2 tight end podcasts this week talked a lot about Brandon Cooks, and my panic level is 0 with him. He's getting like 10 targets a game. He's averaging 10 points, so he had a down week in week 3. I'm just not worried. The bench is starting to be overloaded with these speculative holds. I will drop Sky Moore when I die, but it is starting to eat up the bench spots at this point. For Stan, he's starting Drake London, the rookie, over Mike Williams, the boom bust, just getting a little too frustrating. London is getting a ton of targets every game with the Falcons, as expected. To come back after the bad Thursday, Stan needs Derrick Henry and Cortland Sutton to really carry him with some big games. Also, interesting to note that we're starting opposing defenses. The 49ers and the Rams play Monday. I have the Rams defense, Stan has the 49ers, so it could be very important if Stan manages to get it close by the time Monday comes around. Prediction, though, is that I hold on. It would be bad process not to after Stan's Thursday game. All right, next, let's see Kanye's Kitty Killers Minney at 0-3 versus Bills. McConnellsville Mutineers 2-1. No Thursday games here, and it's pretty close on paper. As said previously, Minney's only 2 games back, so an upset here over Bill would put him right in the thick of things. Minnie's dealing with injuries to Alvin Kamara and Chris Godwin. Are they going to play? And if Godwin plays, do you really trust him first game back that he's not going to be extremely limited? However, Jamal Williams with no DeAndre Swift, huge boost. Arguably, Williams without Swift is better than Swift with Williams because he just gets everything when that happens. And is Amari Cooper a wide receiver 1 rest of the season after a huge game against the Steelers last week? Starting to figure it out there in Cleveland? Possibly. Now, for Bill, he's 9th in scoring on the year, despite being 2-1. Definitely had some favorable matchups, some favorable situations where the other team scored low. But is Mike Evans primed for a really big week? We're going to get Angry Brady and no Julio Jones, Godwin possibly limited. I think Evans is going to get a ton of targets against the Chiefs in what could be a shootout. Still waiting on Russell Wilson, and Bill still believes in him just to not be quarterback 25. Get back into that top 12 area and keep the team alive. I'm taking Minney here. I think that Jamal Williams, essentially an extra running back 1 that he normally doesn't have, puts him over the top. All right, finally for the MAGA conference, Mark's Lady G's Beard at 2-1 versus Max Super MAGA. It's not a joke at 1-2. Jamar Chase only 12.1 on Thursday, which for Chase you want and hope for a lot more than that. Early chaos potential here. If Max wins, he's 2-2. Mark's 2-2. One of Stan and me, 2-2. Crazy stuff. And we're also going to be testing Mark's depth with DeAndre Swift out. Especially we have the Miles Sanders situation, Jeff Wilson. Those are going to be your 2 running backs. This is why I pointed out Mark as a potential trade partner to go get a running back from Marty in the trade spotting. Wilson Jr. is going to play Monday night, and Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp Monday night. So this is also a very fun game because Max could go into Monday night with a big lead, and we could be seeing just how many points the Kupp-Stafford stack can bring Mark. Max is all healthy on the other hand. A really high floor team with the 2 Samuels being high target, high reception, PPR leagues. They're going to get something every week. And Garrett Wilson now will have Zach Wilson throwing to him. So we'll see if that success he had with Joe Flacco is going to continue, if he has the same kind of chemistry with the new quarterback. I'm taking Max here. I think that Curtis Samuel and James Robinson are just being extremely disrespected when I look on ESPN and I look on Fantasy Pros. It's like James Robinson, he scored 25, 22, and 20 on the year. So we predict he's going to score 14 this week. I know he's got a tough defensive matchup, but come on. I like Max here. Like a really close game, 2 good teams. Now let's move over to the Smut Hut. You got Swan sitting there 3-0. Dalvin Cook facing an injury is now the limp Cook. Then Banis and Marty sit at 2-1. Grant surprisingly still 1-2 with Wes and Pa way down at the bottom. Grant is suddenly chasing, trying to get back after entering the season as the unanimous favorite in this conference. Banis looks like he's just going to blow out Pa on paper. Is this going to be the last chance for Parker to make something of this season? And can Marty give Swan his first loss in what's sure to be a great matchup? So starting out with Grant at 1-2 versus Wes's Pokeballs and Pussycats at also 1-2. Tyreek Hill, 25.9 on Thursday, unfazed by the Tua injury. Hill's always going to get his. This is Grant's prove it game, that he is still one of the top teams. It looks like it on paper. Nobody expects Grant to honestly miss the playoffs. And Wes is quiet so far. His team really hasn't done anything too surprising or to make you think that he can make a splash. He seems like the fifth team in this conference right now, but he's still alive. So it could come to fruition any week. For Grant, no Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's going to have to start DK Metcalf. It's a fine substitution, but you are missing the Sun God has basically been a wide receiver one automatically every week, so it's a shame he's going to be out. Grant is still projected to get a ton of points. We are still I'm watching in particular, can Christian McCaffrey find his ceiling with Baker Mayfield just killing the weapons on that team, including DJ Moore for Wes? Everybody who was excited to have Baker in town thinking that that was going to make the Panthers' surrounding players score better has to be disappointed at this point. I'm one of them. Patrick Mahomes versus the Bucs defense. And Grant has Jalen Hurts, and it seems like he actually has a pretty big advantage in the quarterback matchup this week. The Bucs defense, a tough matchup for Mahomes. We'll see how he can fare. And Wes really needs Gabe Davis to have a huge game. That's the biggest thing he's counting on to try and get an upset here. I'm taking Grant. Don't expect this one to be particularly close. Speaking of ones I don't expect to be close, pause Schindler's Fist at 0-3 versus Banis Face Jam 2 at 2-1. On paper, it looks like a big lopsided affair, and it looks like this is going to just be a dagger to Parker if he starts 0-4 here. Banis got 52 points from Mixon and T. Higgins on Thursday. Parker's leaning on his core, which is really just Javonte Williams, Devontae Adams, and A.J. Dillon at this point. I'm looking for other potential bright spots where he can get a big score, like the Chargers defense against the Texans. Davis Mills not having a really good year, maybe some turnovers there. But Parker needs something to turn in his favor. Looking at Banis now, Barkley and A.J. Brown have cemented themselves as studs this year. There were questions around both of them coming into this season, but Banis got himself two good ones there. Dameon Pierce as well is amid his breakout, so anyone who saw week 1 and 2 that he wasn't doing that great and thought that Banis reached, wrongo. And really on Banis' team, he's got Mark Andrews as arguably the best tight end in football, just waiting on Tom Brady, otherwise stacked from top to bottom. No surprise here that I'm taking Banis. But let's move on to our game of the week. This is a very exciting one. We got Swan's Limp Cook at 3-0 versus Marty's Thrusters at 2-1. Swan has just been swatting the haters left and right this season. Lots of trash and bold predictions being tossed out there on the Two Tight Ends podcast. He's going to lose this week. He won't make the playoffs. But I think everybody at this point has heard him announce that he is undefeated still, despite all the talk. Marty, though, can take a conference lead with a tiebreaker against Swan right now. So, not expected at the beginning of the season. Marty's team looking very good and primed. No Thursday games. And even on paper, Fantasy Pros like Swan a little bit. I think ESPN has Marty up a little bit, so this is a tight one. For Swan, Lamar Jackson having a historically good fantasy season for a quarterback. How long is that going to keep going? It's going to be the whole season? Is he just going to score 600 points? We'll see. Swan is still rolling with the Bills D. Obviously a strong defense, but against Baltimore in what could turn into a shootout. Potential risk there, although I feel like the Bills D is always going to get some sacks. On the other side, it's interesting that every time Jackson scores a touchdown, his defense is going to lose some points. And is Dalvin Cook really healthy? He's off the injury report, but this thing with the dislocated shoulder, you wonder that he bumps it badly again and he's going to be out of the game. We'll see what happens. Looking at Marty, Khalil Herbert getting the full load with David Montgomery out. Zeke benched in favor of Devin Singletary. Interesting call. They're both about the same, but now Marty has a problem with too many running backs. And Michael Thomas is out, hurting his already shallow wide receiver spot. He has MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling for the Chiefs in. Kind of a boom or bust play, it seems like, to start any of those Chiefs wide receivers these days. So what's the prediction? I like Marty. I think that Stephon Diggs is just going to have a huge week this week. I think that Swan and Marty are going to have the highest scoring game. And I think that an angry Josh Allen after losing last week is just going to go try to score 60 points against Baltimore. Not that Baltimore can't score 60 back, but I like it to be a shootout, and that will favor Marty very much if Diggs can score a couple or even 3 touchdowns. And that's going to be it for this week. I'm thinking of trying to do this as a live show whenever possible going forward. I'd be really interested to know what you guys think. It'll get the videos up quicker. It won't be quite as neat because I won't be able to edit and I won't be able to cut out anything that I majorly mess up, but I could take live chat. Anyway, it's something to think about. And remember, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me when I take my Thursday players out of my flex. We'll see you next week.